So this is a wall squat. It's a great exercise to train your brain and your body how to properly orient itself so that you can achieve proper squat form. It's important to note that this exercise is just as much of a brain exercise as it is a body exercise. And without proper programming, you can't have proper movement. And this exercise certainly helps update the software and improve the programming, the mind-muscle connection, and help build neuromotor pathways and a whole bunch of other things that help us perform and execute on a movement. So what you'll do is you'll set up against a wall, can be anywhere as long as you've got enough height where your arms can go straight over your head. Toes against the wall, feet just outside of shoulder width, and your toes naturally are going to point at 11 and 1. And the key to this exercise is to keep your hips back as far as you can to allow you to go as deep as you can. Now, it's okay if your knees lightly touch the wall at first. Remember, we're creating new pathways for our brain to operate in order to coordinate this. So we need certain cues and certain tactile feedback. So that way we know when our body is moving out of whack and when it's doing things it's not supposed to do. Because done properly, with your head up and your gaze straight ahead, you're not going to be able to look down and see your knees. But because your toes will be against the wall, and that wall will also be a barrier for your knees, naturally your knees aren't going to track past your toes. And over time, as you practice this, you'll be able to get your hips back farther. This way your knees don't touch the wall at all. But what you'll find is that in order to achieve proper depth on this exercise, what's going to have to happen is that I'm going to need to use my posterior core musculature, the muscles in my thoracic and lumbar spine, and also that govern my hip, in order to create a pretty wicked curve in my back, which will force me to keep my chest up and away from the wall. Now, there are certain things that'll happen if you are tight in other places, and these are common issues. For example, if you've got tight lats, what'll happen is as you drop, your lats will force your hands to press against the wall. That's going to move your shoulders back, okay, and your center of gravity back, and force you to stumble and have to take a step backwards in order to regain your balance. So for that reason, it's critical that when you do this exercise, you do it slowly to feel your way through the movement and build the tension in the right places where you need it in order to keep yourself in the right configuration and performing a proper squat. So this view from the rear, you can see that my feet are just outside of shoulder width and my toes are pointed 11 and 1. My arms are straight overhead, and I'm pushing my hips back as far as I can in order to keep my knees from touching the wall. Now, I've done this exercise a lot. I've had a lot of practice at doing squats and doing them properly. So it's a little bit easier for me to do this exercise than a lot of people. But keep in mind that you don't have to go all the way down to the floor. You don't need to perform this exercise in a full range of motion just yet. You just need to get comfortable with the stresses and the forces that your body will feel as you, over time, achieve a deeper and deeper depth for your wall squat. So if you lose your balance, fine. Just take a mental note of how low you were, and the next time that you do this, you try to get a little bit deeper and get a better sense of where you need to keep your center of gravity and how you need to keep it there. If you feel as though this exercise is just impossible for you to do and get any depth at all, and I would say that would be, if you can't slide your fingertips down that wall 6 to 8 inches to even begin, I'd say that there's another problem that we probably would have to address. But if you're getting at least 6 or 8 inches of depth when you do this before you lose your balance, I think that that's just fine and actually plenty to work with. So perform this exercise a few times a day, master it, get comfortable with it, because as soon as you've got this in the bag, you really do have all of the neural programming you need necessary to perform a functional and proper body weight squat, dumbbell squat, barbell squat, and so on. Good luck.